Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, of course. It's the 23rd. No, it's the 30th day of December. Talk about being confused. Anyway, there's not much left of 2020, and I'm sure many of us are thrilled by that and looking forward to 2021 in hopes that it will be better. When I was in seminary, we were told by our pastoral theology professor um, that we needed to be especially sensitive to our congregations at this time of the season, one of the times of the seasons, because this time of Christmas and New Year can be very difficult and very hard on people. We know statistically that the attempts of self harm go up at this time of the year when families and celebrations are being emphasized. There are people who are sitting and weeping over lost and the past. And this time of the year just kind of makes it worse. As we contemplate Easter and New Year's, we contemplate family and our past, and we contemplate memories of good times and good people who may not be there to celebrate with us anymore. In many cases, this is a time of the year when single people can feel the most alone. You look around and families are getting together and maybe lots of friends are getting together, and if you're by yourself, it's tough. It is really hard, I think. And so we have to be aware of that, and we have to be mindful of the fact that Christmas and New Year's are not always good times for all of our people. And so we need to be especially sensitive, I think, to those around us who are struggling with these holidays. And if you're struggling with the holidays, I would urge you to find somebody to talk to, a friend, a relative, next door neighbor, whoever it is, just to sit and talk and at least be aware that you're not alone, because it can be a tough time. We were talking at home several weeks ago about memories, the holiday memories, and we talked about Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and traditions that went with those. And I was remembering one of the things that kind of burned into my memory is that of a little boy waking up on first it would be Thanksgiving morning, and maybe it's still dark or just starting to get light outdoors, and yet if I listen, I can hear the activity in the kitchen. My mother, my grandmother, my aunts, uncles, they're all up starting to work on dinner. And you can begin to sense the smells coming from the Christmas, coming from the kitchen. And I remember laying there and thinking, this is one of the most peaceful, quiet times that I remember. A time of real commitment. That there were people there who cared. I was in a place where people cared. I was part of a group that laughed and talked and carried on and cared. And for a long time, I thought that was everybody's existence. Christmas, of course, always the memories of that are, running out to open the presents and see what Santa left. If if you got what you wanted or not. And it was always exciting to open the packages and to see revealed what would be going on. I remember one Christmas, I was excited and perturbed at the same time when my grandmother gave me $100, and it was all in pennies. And in those days, you had to roll the pennies to take them to the bank, whereas now you just take them loose, they run through a machine. So while I was excited to have $100, which was a lot of money then, well, I think it's a lot of money now, but a whole lot more then, I was a little perturbed that I had to spend the next several hours, rolling the pennies and counting them and putting them in rollers so I could take them to the bank in a couple of days. But it was still a pleasant memory. I remember my brother and I one Christmas Eve when our parents had gone out to a Christmas party, that we carefully unwrapped our presents to see what we got, and then tried to rewrap them as meticulously as our mother did. I'm not sure we fooled anybody. I remember the year my father gave my mother a full-length mink coat. And my father had an interesting sense of humor, so he had this box wrapped and put into a larger box, and that he had it put into a wooden packing crate. And then it was wrapped with a ribbon. Needless to say, my mother was not excited about having to open her present with a hammer and a pry bar. But once she saw what it was, all was forgiven. I've learned that not everybody has great memories of Christmas and of holidays. And these are the times we need to shift our focus away from gifts to Jesus. When we need to focus on this great gift that God has given us. This gift that comes to us in very human terms and tells us of God's love and tells us that at this time of the year and all times of the year, we're never alone. God is always with us, and Jesus is always with us. It's a gift that reminds us that while life may not be the greatest, and while it is hard for us to put one foot in front of the other, nevertheless, Jesus is there to help us, to take us by the hand or put his arm over our shoulder and lift us up and help us to take one more step to the future. I believe the gift of Jesus reminds us that we have value. That Jesus came for you and me, and he came to accept you in whatever state you may be in. If you are grieving at this time the loss of a loved one, know that Jesus grieves with you. If you are questioning who you are, Jesus is there to remind you of who you are. You are a child of God. If you're questioning whether or not your life makes any sense, Jesus tells you that all lives are important to him. And your life is very precious. So I know these can be tough times for some people. But this is why Jesus came. He came to tell us that the tough times won't last forever. He came to tell us that he will walk with us through these tough times. He came to tell us that regardless of what the world may say or think, you are loved by God. Always have been, always will be. No change. So if you're feeling a bit lonely and depressed at these holidays, know that Jesus is with you. Know that he cares about you. Knows that he wants you to be healed, to be restored, to be forgiven. He wants you to help. He wants to help you find your full potential, whatever that is. We are not alone. We are not by ourselves. Jesus is with us. That is the whole story of Christmas. Emmanuel, God is with us. He always has been, and he always will be.